So before this class, before this assignment, I had never really heard of the term entomathematics, sorry. I had never really used it before, and I never really heard anyone else use it before, so I didn't know if I agreed with this word or not. But after looking at the websites and doing some research of this word, I have came to realize that I do absolutely agree with this word. One of the websites said that mathematics is used to express the relationship between cultures and mathematics. Another said that it is the ability to understand that every child is unique and different, and we need to understand these differences. Most of the websites talked about we need to make what we're teaching relatable to the students. We need to represent other cultures, not only our culture, but the other cultures. There are going to be many different students, and each of those students is going to be different, and we need to understand that difference and represent those differences. So, yeah, I agree with this word. And this reflection, it made me think about one of the videos that we watched in our online ELL class, and it was this little boy, and he was an English language learner, and he was in a math class. And the teacher, she was taught, and before, like when the video first started, you could see that the student, he understood perimeter and area because it was numbers. He didn't have to understand English to know that you add all of the numbers up or you multiply length times width. So in this video, the teacher, she's still talking about perimeter. She's trying to find the perimeter of a block. And the block that she's referring to is a block in a city. The students are traveling around a block. In this student, he's an ELL, an English language learner, and the whole time, although he understands perimeter, the whole time in his head, he's thinking about a block that his little brother builds with. And she's wondering why students are walking around this little wooden block. So this made me realize that we need to have this diversity. We need to understand that some vocabulary can be hard, but it doesn't have to be hard. One website that I looked at, it talked about how some terms in math, like the shapes, you can use shapes, but you can use pictures of other things from other cultures so the students can know, hey, this is a triangle. Here's a triangle in my culture, not a triangle of something that they've never even seen before. Question number 2 says the National Assessment of Educational Progress Report. When I looked at this website, the one thing that really stuck out to me in all of the graphs and all of the charts that I looked at, it was that it was divided by race or racial group, and the two groups that were always at the top was white and Asian, and the two that always seemed to be at the bottom were Hispanic or African Americans. And I don't know for sure why this is the way it is. I know from my view, my opinion, and this opinion is probably wrong, but I was born in East Texas. I've only gone to school here, and most of the teachers that I've always seen here are predominantly white. Now, when you look at these graphs, most of the race that does predominantly well is white. So if you were to look at the students of East Texas, and if they were predominantly white, then done well, it's probably because their teachers have the same culture as them. They can probably relate to their teachers that are teaching them more than the students who are from other countries that don't really relate to their teachers. And so that's what I think, and that's what I noticed from this website, was that race does show how well students perform, and I don't think it should be that way. I think as teachers, we can see that students are different, and we can use accommodations, modifications, whatever necessary to make sure every student succeeds. The last question made us talk about how we can make math in a real world, and it made me remember when I was in math, one problem that my math teacher had to do, one lesson that I remember, and I'm surprised I remember it because it was about area of a circle, having to use pi. I don't like pie unless it's on Thanksgiving and I'm eating it. But I remember this problem because this teacher, he brought in the little sugar cookies from Berkshire's that everyone loves and chocolate chip cookies. Now everybody can relate to that because it's food. And he made us find the area of these cookies, and then we had to find the area, the volume, because we were talking about volume 2, we had to find the volume of a Pringles can. And using the volume and the area that we had to see how many of those cookies would fit in this Pringles can. And then we had to see how many cookies would fit in a square little box. think using volume and area and perimeter and addition and multiplication and division. And I still remember this problem to the date because it was getting us ready for algebra. But that's not why I remember it. I remember it because this teacher, he used real world. If he used those little wooden blocks of cylinders and circles that every math teacher has, if he would have done that, I would not remember it. But because he used real world experiences, I remember it. And I know when I'm teaching, I try to throw in to my students, I try to say, hey, you will use this later on, because I know I didn't graduate that long ago. And I remember when I was in school, the thing that I always thought of was, when am I ever going to use this? I'm not ever going to use Pythagorean theorem. But whenever I do teach something that students will use later on, I do like to say, hey, you will use this later on. It can be used in the real world. And I think that's very important to students. So, in conclusion, I think it's not only important that we recognize cultures, but that we recognize that what we're teaching should be a real world application to students, because they will remember it better. Thank you.